April 6th meeting of the Rancho Simi Recreation and Park District is hereby called to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Brian, why don't you lead us? Brian, read.
Put your hand over your heart and join me. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Director Avila?
Here.
Director Denner?
Here.
Director Freeman?
Here.
Vice Chair Gray?
Here.
And Chair O'Brien?
Here. Okay, item 3, agenda review. Are there any changes?
Thank you, Chair. No changes, but a couple items to note. Item 7B, the presentation of the certificate to Simi Youth Baseball. We learned this afternoon that the gentlemen that were going to attend actually have a game to coach. And I didn't realize that when they committed to us last week, so
That's a really
we'll
good
get that to
reason.
them. Yeah. And then secondly, I wanted to note that Brian Hamlet is sitting as our legal counsel this evening in place of Brian Pierrick. Welcome, Brian Hamlet.
Thank you.
That's all we have, and we have no recommended changes to the agenda, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Item 4, public statements, items not on the agenda. I have no green cards and I see no guests. Anybody online want to make a comment about anything? Going once? Going twice? Okay, that was easy. Approval of minutes, Rancho Simi Recreation and Park District Board of Directors meeting, March 2nd, 2022.
I move approval.
Second.
Director Avila?
Aye.
Director Dennert?
Yes.
Director Freeman?
Yes.
Vice Chair Gray?
Aye.
Chair O'Brien?
Abstain.
The motion carries with a unanimous vote with Chair O'Brien abstaining.
Okay. Item 6, consent agenda. Any questions?
I have a question about C
Questions about the consent agenda?
on the consent agenda, the
Okay.
weed abatement.
Yeah.
Is that a question probably for Wayne to answer?
Yes. Wayne, want to come up?
My understanding of the weed abatement is that's the mechanical, like spraying and stuff. Is that correct?
correct.
The reason I ask is I saw there was a petition online, and some people were concerned about human-toxin, I think, but they weren't using that word in it, and they were concerned about glyphosate, if I'm saying that correct. Anyways, I thought they might come to the meeting tonight, but if they come in the future, they had questions, and they're just categorizing them as chemicals broadly, but that might be a future thing that comes up if they come to a meeting with that concern.
Okay.
Thank you. No more questions about the consent agenda?
All right. Okay, any other questions on any item on the consent agenda? Anybody want to make a motion for approval? Nobody wants to approve it? I'll make a motion.
Oh,
to approve.
Second.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Director Avila?
Aye.
Director Denner?
Yes.
Director Freeman?
Yes.
Vice Chair Gray?
Aye.
And Chair O'Brien?
Yes.
The motion carries with a unanimous vote.
Okay, item 7, presentations and scheduled items of public hearings. A, presentation of the part-time employee for the month of February 2022 to Kathy Pearce, Administrative Assistant 6.
Thank you, Chair. Director of Administration Teresa Pennington will introduce the item.
Honorable Chair and members of the board, it's my pleasure to present the part-time employee of the month for February 2022 to Kathy Pearce. She's an Administrative Assistant 6 in the Recreation Department. She's worked for the district for 27 years, and this is her second Employee of the Month award. The person who nominated Kathy stated the following: Kathy is a hardworking individual with great customer service skills. She began her career with the Park District at May Boyer and currently works at the Oak Park Community Center. Kathy handles bookings, schedules, confirmations, and payments for classes and rentals, and does an outstanding job. Her ability to prioritize, coupled with her friendly demeanor, is a perfect fit when working with patrons in person and on the telephone, especially at the same time. Kathy has an abundant wealth of experience and knowledge that she has gained through her many years of service with Rancho Cini, which is highly beneficial to anyone she encounters. Kathy is a consummate professional, and the district is fortunate to have her as a member of the team. Congratulations, Kathy. Want to come on up? Ask the chair to take a picture with you. Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you. There you go. Thank you very much. Thank you. Congratulations.
Okay, item B has already been done.
I want to congratulate her because, with her job, she interfaces with all the constituents, and she probably is the one point of contact for the district that all those people really associate with. So her position is really important in her public relations and how she deals with the public, because that's the impression that they have of the district. And so for that reason, I really want to thank you very much. Thank you.
When the public says we're helpful or friendly, what they mean by that is you're helpful and friendly. Like you're the one there interacting with, as Lynn said.
And I just want to, we've had some moving staff out at Oak Park with folks retiring and other thing, and Kathy's been the constant out there, and has, from what I understand, done a very good job holding the fort down through that chain. So thank you for that extra effort during that period.
See, Kelly has her hand up.
Thank you, Kathy.
Oh, Kelly, yes,
yeah.
go ahead. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I do just want to repeat what Dan said as well. Kathy has been the one constant with a lot of different changes out here in Oak Park. I absolutely love working with Kathy. I'm appreciative of everything that she's done since I've been here, but just all of her background and history here as well. My heart loves how absolutely organized she is. It makes me so happy to see some of the stuff that she has here and the way that she keeps everything organized. It just pleases me immensely. And she's just a joy to work with. I just absolutely love her work ethic, her demeanor, like you guys have stated, when she's working with the public, our instructors, other staff here. I am just very thankful for everything that she's done and what she contributes to the district.
Thank you, Kelly. Okay, item B we took care of already. Do we want, anybody want to talk about
Yeah,
that?
Chair, actually, I think we'll do a brief report for the record, and the president of the league has asked that we may present it to them either at their closing ceremonies or another time. So it didn't sound like they wanted to reschedule it. We'll do a brief report for the record, and we will present it to them out in the field at some point.
Okay.
Thank you. Good evening, Chair O'Brien and Board of Directors. Tonight we're here to celebrate the 60th anniversary of Simi Youth Baseball. Simi Youth Baseball has been a volunteer-run organization in the community for the last 60 years, incorporated in 1962. They've promoted the sport and provided a safe place for the youth of our community to play baseball, make new friends, build self-confidence and self-esteem for the kids of our community. Simi Youth Baseball has had huge success on the national level as well. They've had over 25 all-star teams that have advanced all the way to the Pony World Series level, and are 17-time World Series champions. Most recently in 2021 with 2 teams, their Mustang 10 and their Shetland 6 teams. Tonight we'd like to recognize and congratulate Simi Youth Baseball for 60 years of dedication to the community of Simi Valley. Their commitment to creating a positive youth sporting environment is a model for youth sports organizations in the community. And as Dan mentioned, we will coordinate getting their recognition to them at a future date, possibly at their closing ceremonies this season. And they apologize to me via email for not being able to make it tonight, but they are both coaching teams out of the fields tonight, so they are doing good work for the community. With that, I'll end my report.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, comments from anybody?
for the closing ceremony. If you invite board members, I'm pretty confident Ed would like to go. But we appreciate you sending out an invite to us.
Absolutely, I'll take care of that.
That'd be nice.
You realize that they formed right after we did, I mean, just a year.
Yeah,
Right.
We've been
that's right.
partners for a long, long time.
So, yeah. Yep. Okay.
They've built a phenomenal program there. I mean, it's one of the things about it in the community to be proud of. They've done a great job, so I really appreciate it.
Okay. Item 7C, status of duck and geese overpopulation at Rancho Simi and Rancho Tapo Community Parks.
Thank you, Chair. I've got a real brief slideshow here. I can get Alex to pull it up.
Dan, as you pulled it up, I see that Allegra is on the call. She may or may not want to speak, but when it's time for public comment, I'd see her on Zoom.
Okay. So, in March of 2021, the board addressed the issue of the geese and duck overpopulation at Rancho Simi. At that time, the board, we put together a 5-point plan, we call it, and we were proceeding to, we have implemented the plan and wanted to give you the status of that. Item number 1 was related to the Chinese geese. We worked with the geese community and they built a pen out at the location. This was important because we wanted to take a strategy of reducing folks feeding the geese out there. When you feed the geese, more come, but with the Chinese geese out there, they're domestic, so we couldn't have a no feeding policy while still having the Chinese geese there because they need to be fed. So this item has been completed. Item number 2 was to take an aggressive approach to encouraging folks not to feed the geese. We installed quite a bit of signage out there and educational material, letting folks know that feeding geese at the location and the ducks is discouraged. That's been completed. We also placed wildlife deterrents to discourage habitation. We did try that and it's been completed. If the board has any questions on our efforts on that, Mr. Nakaoka can answer those, but that's been completed. Item number 4 was public education ranger enforcement. We did education along with the folks that the community partners we had to post signage and let the public know, and the rangers have been out there more often, educating folks on feeding the geese and ducks. That's been completed. And item 5 was to obtain an egg addling permit to inhibit duck and geese habitation. That item has also been completed and we've been implementing that portion of the 5-point plan. I apologize, the slide transition here is a little rough. That being said, the park is still not in good condition. So we've done all of those things. The addling takes a while, but just so the board knows, there's still a huge duck and goose population out there, and our guys are doing the best they can through vacuuming droppings and all of that stuff, but the park and the turf in the park is still in not very good shape.
Is there any improvement at all?
No, not much.
Is that
I think the addling's gonna take a while. From what I heard, it's gotten worse.
Tell me
It hasn't
again what,
gotten, I'm sorry, hasn't gotten any worse. We can't see any appreciable difference
okay.
from when we started.
Tell me again what egg addling is.
It's either oiling the eggs or the take of eggs. It's our option according to our permit.
Okay.
Right now, we're doing a take of the eggs in the nest.
Okay. All right.
You did. Wayne, sorry. Do the ducks recognize, I mean, do they know the eggs are being taken? I mean, is there any problem with doing it? I mean, are they feisty about it?
We haven't had any problems from the citizens that come to the park. They see us taking the eggs, they understand what we're trying to do. I don't know if the ducks and geese notice that their eggs are missing or not. To be honest, I haven't been out there looking at them, but they do the pickup in the morning.
Okay. All right.
So,
Any other questions?
just to clarify, Wayne, the Adeline is intended to just prevent future increase in the population, so that'll take 2 to 3 years to have an impact, right? I thought I recall hearing that when we discussed it last year.
Yeah, Fish and Game says that it usually takes probably anywhere from 3 to 5 years to make any difference. Right now, there's a lot of babies out there and they're having fun, they're cute. We're just trying to prevent next year's generation of ducks and geese, and they don't become, I guess, ready to breed for about 2 years. So we're trying to prevent future generations.
Wayne, I like to go egg addling, if that's a verb. If I'll help out staff, but I'd like to check that out. If next time they're going over to the island, I can jump in our fleet of boats, as in our one boat, go out to the island and get some eggs.
You're certainly welcome to do so. Let me know which day, because we start at 7 o'clock in the morning.
Appreciate it.
Okay. You had a question too, Elaine?
No, that's all right. Oh, I do have one question. Are the people out there every day herding the geese into the cages like you
Yes.
said they would?
Yes, they are.
Wow,
Good.
thank you.
Yeah, that is impressive. Okay.
Dan, was that the end of the presentation?
Yes.
Okay.
Public speakers, Chair, for this item.
I'm sorry, what?
We need to ask if there's any public speakers for this item.
Right.
Public comment.
Any public speakers on this item?
Yes.
Okay. Allegra?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm at the park 4 days a week. I was there this morning. I think the photo that you showed with all those geese is one perspective. I counted 2 on that lawn today, Canada's. I counted a total of about 40 Canada geese on the Erringer side. We do have the 24 Chinese geese that we had last year. We take them to the pen every day. The lawn looks a lot better. I just sent a picture to Brian. I don't have the capacity to do it on this. It's a lot greener than it was last year. There's a lot less poop. And the deal was, if we got the numbers down to about 200, that was really good and sustainable. And we are down to about less than 200 now. And that's mallards, widgeons, coots, Canada geese, which we have no control over. Those are all wild animals that are protected by Fish and Game. And the domestic ducks, we remove the females. So you're not gonna see more domestics because they get very beat up by the males every year. And our Canada geese are under control. So I just, I really appreciate you working with us, but I want you to see a photo that shows the green part of the lawn. That photo was biased. It only showed one bad portion of the lawn.
Okay.
And that's it.
Okay. Thank you.
If I can say something?
Yes.
I know somebody said that there were a lot of babies around. I'm down there 2 or 3 times a week. I have not seen any babies yet. We know that, there's the birds are all starting to nest, but I've not seen any babies from any of the ducks or any of the Canada geese yet. So I don't know who's seeing babies or where they are. Like I said, we're very diligent, about controlling, what's going on where, if there are people down there that are still feeding, we're still, trying to educate them not to. A lot of people have been like, oh, okay, and they throw their bread or whatever away. We talked to the maintenance crew down there. We've developed a really good relationship with them. So, when they see issues, they let us know, and vice versa. So, like I said, that picture that was shown, it looked like maybe somebody had fed there, and that's why there was such a collective group. Again, unless you're down there and really, seeing it from day to day, it's hard to get the overall perspective. A picture you can have one picture tell anything you want. So, we've all seen definitely an improvement in the population. Because the food is not there, they're not coming around as much. hopefully we're getting the word out on community pages that, not to dump. Easter's coming up. We're trying to dissuade people from buying little baby ducks because they grow up and people think, oh, we can just dump them in the pond and wash. And, we can't. We're trying to really kindly educate people on that. So, that's our perspective. Like I said, we're down there several times a day, every day we have somebody down.
Okay, great, thank you. Anyone else want to make a comment?
Wayne, I had another question. It was about, we did the fake wildlife. I imagined when we did that, we had conversations that it's one of the things fishing games suggest, but it's probably not effective. But my question is, I hadn't seen it, maybe I didn't pay enough attention. Was a fake wolf on the islands, or where was that?
It was on the island.
Is it still there? What happened to it?
Some kids decided to go and play with it, so we took it down.
Okay.
It actually wasn't three-dimensional, it was a two-dimensional wolf.
Okay.
So it probably wasn't as effective as we could have tried. But we
Yeah.
tried a lot of things, perfume, WD-40. Somebody told me that if you spray it in the bushes, it tries to inhibit the ducks and geese from going in there. It didn't work, they like it.
Oh.
They like the perfume too, it's from John's daughter.
Okay.
Didn't work. We tried the strobe lights that everybody sees, so geese away. Well, they
You made
didn't
it
tell
nightclub.
us that it doesn't work in a metropolitan area where the ducks and geese are used to seeing
Of course.
car lights all the time.
Yeah.
Yes, it's guaranteed to work if you're out in the country, but it didn't work so well inside the city.
Wayne, I know one of the things you said is we had to do these steps before fishing game allowed us to do some other things, but one of them was the plants on the islands, like we could trim them back more, but I think we had to wait to do that.
Yes, our 5-year mitigation for the development or the renovation of the pond is over. We can go in there now and cut back the bushes a little better. What we're going to try to do is raise them off the ground to try to discourage nesting underneath the bushes.
And then that's it for my questions, but for comments, I know that feeding's a problem, and whenever we discuss this, we have to divide up. There's different types of geese. The domestic geese, the Mother Goose Brigade is not just feeding them, but educating other people to stop eating the wild birds. Obviously, people continue to do that, but it's a lot easier to say, hey, here's someone to talk to in a friendly way to find out about that. So I appreciate them being partners in that. The 24 Chinese geese are getting older, and some of them are entering the end of their lifespan. And if we do a good job on egg handling, then years from now there won't be that many of the Chinese geese left. And then if we have to have more aggressive policies towards Canada geese, it makes it easier because there's only wildlife there, not both of them. So that part right there, I believe Allegra told me the lifespan is on average like 12 to 15 years, and some of them are in that category already. So that number shouldn't get bigger. That 24 should be going down over the years. This item was on our agenda as an update. Dan, was it brought to us like you were asking for more input or just giving an update, or did somebody request we discuss it?
I believe we committed to providing an update a bit from about a year after. Or, at some point you guys had asked, so this is bringing that back at your request.
That's all my questions or comments.
All right. Anyone else? Anything?
Dan,
Yes, Josh.
is there a plan? I know we said a year afterwards. Are we planning on talking about it or looking at it again in 6 months, 12 months? Does Wayne have any thoughts?
Up to you guys. We can bring it back, and probably, I mean, the adling process takes a while to implement, so we can just keep monitor this situation and the conditions, and I would recommend probably a year given the time frame, unless you guys want to do it sooner.
A year's fine, I
I
think.
don't think we'll see that, we won't see much change.
That's what, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they have a breeding cycle, right, or a cycle of life or something that is a year. So, okay. Sounds good.
Is that okay, Director Gray, in that 12 months?
Sounds good. I just wanted to clarify what the plan was going forward. All good. Thank you.
All right, great. Okay. Item 7.
Thank you, everyone. We appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. Item 7G, status of districts respond to the COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic.
Thank you, Chair. We've had no complaints, no positive. Registrations and rentals continue to grow and do very well. Rentals are over normal and registrations were still below, but the activity is picking up, especially as we get into the spring and summer. That concludes that report. I might recommend, or I wanted to ask the board if we wanted to pull this item from the agenda at this point. If COVID reappears, we can always put it back on the agenda, or we can leave it on. So, but I don't, it's pretty quiet and things are going well in the district. I was thinking we could pull this off the agenda until it comes back, unless the board would like to keep it on.
If we bring it off the agenda and you did have an update, you can do that just as your district manager report?
Correct. By having it on the agenda, though, you guys can take action on some things. If it's not, I can report out on it. You guys just can't give me direction unless it's listed.
I would think you could just report under general manager's report.
I'm
Okay.
good with that.
Yeah, I'm good with that. That's fine.
And if you anticipate that we might
Correct.
want an action, you can put it back on yourself, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Josh, you good with that?
Yes, sounds great. Thank you.
Great. Okay. That was easy. Item 8, continued business. There is none. Item 9, new business. 9A, authorize district manager to execute the permit agreement for use of recreational facilities at Sinaloa Youth Ball Fields and the landlord consent waiver from allowing senior youth baseball to obtain a loan to purchase a synthetic turf.
Thank you, Chair. I'll provide the report. The Senior Youth Baseball League, the group we just talked about, they have the Sinaloa fields along Madera Road. Have a long-standing relationship with them. They have requests, they're going to replace all of the turf on those fields. There's 5 of them, synthetic turf. That needs to happen about every 10 years, as I understand it, depending on the product that's purchased. So they're planning to borrow $410,000 in order to purchase and install the turf. We did this previously in 2011, same thing, where they bought some turf. But as a part of that, there are a couple of things that they need in order to secure their loan. The first is our lease agreement. They need to ensure, the bank wants to ensure that they have rights to the property and using the land over the course of their payment term, which is 7 years. So that the loan will be paid off over that 7-year period. The league tells me they're hoping to pay it off sooner than that, but in order to effectuate their loan, they need that from us. So as a part of that, we've redrafted their agreement that the board adopted earlier this year. We've extended the term to December 31st, 2029. Secondly, as a part of that in the agreement, the fees, which we have agreed to with the league, each year during the term of the agreement, the fees will go up $50 per field through 2029. And that's what we've been doing the last few years to keep pace with the cost of doing business. Another item is, as the board knows, we've been talking about various fees, not with just youth sports, but fees across the district. They've agreed that even though we're signing the lease agreement here that we'll get together in good faith if needed during the term of the agreement. So it's a long-term commitment, but they've agreed that we can sit down and talk if we need to revisit the fee discussion at all. And then I think those are the changes to the agreement. The agreement already deals with maintenance and running, the project by us and Wayne's group's oversight of that. Secondly, the second action is, as a part of their loan, we need to sign a consent and waiver form as a part of their loan documents. There's no involvement of us in the loan agreement. It's just simply that it's a collateral issue. So we're giving them the right, the bank the right, if they default on the loan, to come and get the turf. So that is a condition of the loan. That's the security for the loan. So with that, again, the league president and I think vice president are in agreement with the terms in the agreement, and we're recommending that the board authorize the district manager to execute the updated agreement and also to execute the consent and waiver form. That concludes staff's report.
Okay. Are there any questions from board members?
I have I have kind of a question.
Okay.
The president and vice president have both talked to me. The one area that I think they're obviously they're fine with the agreement. The one concern they have is that the $50 annual increase is based on the fact that their understanding is that other leagues' fees may increase more. Their concern is that unlike the other leagues, they maintain their own, they put their own money into their fields, they maintain their own fields where the other leagues don't. If it turns out that the fees for the other leagues are not increased or are not increased by more than theirs are increased, then if I'm understanding this correctly, their fees can also be open for discussion as well. Is that correct?
Correct. That was the intent, was that as fee discussions occur or come up, either way,
Right.
in total with the leagues and the use of baseball fields, that either they or us could have an opener, so to speak, and discuss the fee situation. Obviously, and bring it to the board if necessary.
I have just one thought. I mean, I don't think there's a probability of them defaulting and them coming in and pulling up the turf. That doesn't seem like a probable
No,
thing to
it
happen.
doesn't to me either.
But if it did happen, wouldn't the district be in a better position to leave the turf in place and take over
Yeah.
the loan? I mean, in the future?
That would be a decision that we'd probably bring to you before the turf was torn out, yes.
I mean, it would be a waste to fill up the turf. I mean,
Yeah.
when I read that, I thought,
Yeah.
It's not really
Yeah,
a
that's a
practical
very similar
piece
question.
of collateral.
I mean,
I would say.
it's probably,
Yeah. What is the bank gonna do with a bunch of dirt? Seriously. I know.
We don't anticipate that happening at all, but if it does happen, we'll bring that back to the board with the recommendation.
yeah.
Okay.
I have a comment before that. I don't think there'd be any public comment, but was there? Do you see anybody on here that might?
If I could follow
I'm
up
going to invite
Sorry.
public comment in a minute, yes.
I could follow up on Director Avila's just
Yeah.
to explain the concern. There's two components to our fees. One is a rental fee. So we are the stewards of the public property, and to use public property, there's rent. And then there's also in situations where we charge a maintenance fee. Those leagues that are doing maintenance on their fields should not have the maintenance fee portion or a portion of that. They should still have the rental fee. So the issue is we have some inequity between the leagues on what they're being charged based on what maintenance they're doing. So the baseline's a rental fee, and they are correct. If we have leagues that are doing all the maintenance, they should not have to pay a maintenance fee. For those leagues that we are providing for maintenance on the field, it should be in addition to the rental fee. So that's one of the issues we were contemplating potentially in the fee discussion, was acknowledging that and perhaps correcting for that so everybody was on a more fair plane, so to speak.
Okay,
Their argument is valid.
yeah. Okay. Any more questions from board members? Okay, I'm opening up to the public. Any public comment on this issue? Okay, who would like to make a motion?
Before I do motions, I just want to say they want to invest in the community's property, and they're investing in children. So I'm excited that they have the resources and the volunteers and organization to be able to do something like that.
Okay.
I'll second that and thank staff for their work on this agreement and working with the league.
Josh, I didn't actually make a motion. I don't know if somebody else did.
I'll make a motion to
Okay.
approve.
Second.
Okay, roll call vote, please.
Director Avila,
Aye.
Director Jenner,
Yes.
Director Freeman,
Yes.
Vice Chair Gray,
Aye.
Chair O'Brien.
Yes.
Motion carries with unanimous vote.
All right. Okay, item B, 9B. Approval of resolution authorizing execution of a grant of easement to Southern California Edison Company to construct, operate, and maintain underground electric lines over a portion of Park District property, commonly known as Undeveloped Sinaloa Golf Course.
Mr. Nakaoka will provide the report.
Chair O'Brien, members of the board, in an effort to eliminate overhead electrical wiring whenever or wherever possible, Southern California Edison Company has requested a grant of easement from the Park District to install underground electrical service in the northeasterly corner of the undeveloped Sinaloa golf course property, as depicted in your Exhibit A. The 6-foot wide easement is for a residential meter changeout for one of the residents of the Sinaloa Lake area along Irvine Road. As you will remember, this easement area is right along the backside of the property. It affects 2 houses that are on the Sinaloa Lake area. This easement is going to coexist with the easement that we've already given to the HOA for their access to their homes. We'll be right underneath it. It doesn't affect anything for future Park District development of the property. There is no financial impact to the Park District with granting this easement to Southern California Edison. Therefore, staff is recommending that the board approve the attached resolution granting to Southern California Edison Company an easement to construct, operate, and maintain an underground electrical line over a portion of the undeveloped Sinaloa golf course as described in the grant of easement. And I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
I mean, I'm only asking to be a better board member, but this is on our agenda and it seems like probably routine business. Is it required by like our rules that you bring it to us?
Yes. Anytime we do a property exchange or a grant of easement, we have to bring it to the full board.
And we're being a good neighbor, not specifically SCE, but to those neighbors that need this. Is that something they ever pay a fee for, never pay a fee for?
No. With Southern California Edison, we often grant easements to them. In exchange, Southern California Edison provides us with power when we needed temporary power. They've been a good partner with us over the years.
Director, also, if it was an above ground easement, we would probably have a fee associated, but because it's underground, we haven't been doing that. And again, like Wayne said, we get some services from them in exchange in recognizing that. So.
And I don't see it just as a benefit to SCE, but those neighbors that need it. So
right.
I'll make a motion to approve this. I apologize, I went kind of quick. Sorry.
That's okay.
Anybody else?
Anybody else have questions?
I'll move to approve.
Okay, so you second, basically you're seconding.
Second.
And, okay, roll call please.
Director
Aye.
Director Jenner,
Yes.
Director Freeman,
Yes.
Vice Chair Gray,
Aye.
Chair O'Brien.
Yes.
Motion carries with unanimous vote.
Okay, item 9C, discussion and approval of proposed rate increases at Simi Hills and Sinaloa golf courses.
Thank you, Chair. Brian Reed, the golf course manager, will provide staff's report.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, members of the board. This evening I'll present some information and discuss rate increases potentially at Simi Hills and Sinaloa golf courses. For background, to generate optimal revenue at the district's golf courses, staff must maximize utilization while maintaining competitive rates and satisfactory course conditions. This task is multifaceted, and staff must also provide fun and affordable classes, entertaining events and programs, as well as excellent customer service. There are many other moving parts that are out of staff's control, including competition, weather, and overall economic concerns that need to be considered. To accomplish this, golf course staff regularly solicits feedback from customers and members through formal and informal surveys, and conducts an annual analysis of other neighboring golf course programs and rates. Additionally, staff participates in national, regional, and local club manager networks to stay educated on trends and operations of other similar facilities. The pricing strategy for the past several years has been to set fees for golf courses in such a manner that they create enough revenue to cover operations, plus enable the district to set aside funds to invest in anticipated capital improvements. Staff evaluates revenue and utilization on an ongoing basis and adjusts programs and fees to achieve these goals. Fees have been adjusted at Simi Hills 5 times in the last 6 years, with the most recent fee increase being July 1st of last year. And the district has also just adjusted fees at Sinaloa 4 times in the last 8 years, with the most recent being on July 1st of last year as well. In your packet, there's two charts that show rounds recorded on a monthly basis for the last 5 years at Simi Hills and Sinaloa. Can you throw that up there? The red, green, and dark blue lines represent 2017, 18, and 19, which are all prior to COVID, and staff refers to them collectively as baseline. The golf industry in general has adopted this term as baseline prior to COVID. When averaged, these 3 years are very representative of our normal level of business. The purple line depicts 2020 and does an excellent job of showing the dramatic surge from COVID. The light blue line shows 2021 and displays how the level of play peaked in the spring and summer for Sinaloa and Simi Hills respectively, and began to drop off through the end of the year. The orange line shows the beginning of 2022 and displays how the surge has largely diminished and our rounds have returned to a more normal long-term levels. Rounds played for the first 3 months of this year are still elevated slightly compared to baseline, indicating there is some residual impact from COVID, but it's also partly due to the weather being unusually dry. We've only had 2 rain days so far this year. So if anybody has any questions about those charts, I could address those now, or we can wait for the end and have some discussion about that at the end. Ryan,
I think we'll complete the report, yeah.
Okay, keep going through it. Okay. Traditionally, there is a correlation between rounds and rates. As rates are increased relative to the competition, there is a natural redistribution of demand. Some players will readily accept paying higher fees for the same product, while others will not. This dynamic plays out over and over again, with rounds redistributing every time the market adjusts prices. There's also a level of churn in the game of golf, where the overall number of golfers increases and decreases due to larger market forces. During COVID, many occasional and moderate golfers played more often, and many new golfers entered the game. A similar surge occurred in the late 90s when Tiger Woods first turned pro. This surge in new demand has resulted in increased rounds played nationwide and has driven fee increases at many, if not all, golf courses. There's a chart in your pack that displays fee increases that several of our main competitors have taken in the last year. The average increase of nearby competitors is about $4 in the last year, or about 7%. Over time, increases in golf fees are anticipated, but exactly what those increases should be is sometimes somewhat difficult to determine. The surge in demand from COVID has driven many fee increases locally and nationally, and it remains to be seen if those increases stick as the surge abates. The data shows the surge in rounds played during COVID is waning, both locally and nationally, but the demand is still slightly elevated, which would normally indicate that prices could be increased, and the district did increase fees modestly last year. Costs are rapidly going up for all types of goods and services used by golf course personnel to maintain the property, with payroll, insurance, water, and supplies all being affected, which would also normally suggest fee increases are appropriate. At the same time, golf has the same headwinds that it has always had. It is a difficult game, it takes a considerable commitment of time, and it is relatively expensive as an activity. With inflation running high lately and competition with daily living expenses also high, aggressive increases in fees may turn some customers away from golf in favor of other cheaper forms of entertainment. This is exactly what happened in the early 2000s when the golf industry also had pricing power and used it, and the game became more expensive and the overall customer base contracted. Staff believes aggressively increasing fees while demand is weakening may accelerate the decline and possibly result in rounds trending below baseline. If this occurs, the positive impact from higher rates could be offset by fewer rounds and undermine the overall benefit to the bottom line. All things considered, staff believes it is appropriate to adjust golf fees in order to keep up with the increasing cost of doing business. Staff is concerned about the current downward trend in rounds, but feels increasing fees will result in added revenue to help offset additional costs. Last year, staff predicted that demand for golf would diminish as COVID wore off. It has, but golf courses are still recording around 10% more rounds than baseline. Staff believes the current trend of rounds diminishing will continue and eventually will settle out about 5% above baseline. Staff believes an increase in golf rates is appropriate and will probably not impact demand too much, but, cautions that being too aggressive may have an unintended impact. Alternatives. Staff believes the maximum revenue will be generated by the recommended increases, thus maximizing rounds and taking advantage of all ancillary revenue streams, including launching new revenue opportunities when available. Staff traditionally recommends a hybrid approach to golf fees. Both Sinaloa and Simi Hills use a level of dynamic pricing where fees and discounts are targeted at specific timeframes to address differing utilization levels. Draft rate schedules for both golf courses are included at the end of this report and show staff's recommendations. Some rates have more potential to withstand increases, while others are appropriately priced already and not recommended to be increased much or at all. These proposed rates for Simi Hills represent an approximate 10% average increase, 10.24 to be exact. Staff believes that Sinaloa is already properly priced, and there is opportunity for increasing range fees, and the rate schedule shows that increase. Note that the proposed new prime rate on weekend mornings at Simi Hills and the removal of the senior cart rental rate represent fairly significant increases. Compared to our main competition, these rates are still in the middle of the pack though. They lean towards the higher end of middle. Alternatives for discussion and consideration include Alternative 1, direct staff to implement the fee increase as proposed in the attached rate schedules and report back to the board next year during the budget process with a similar analysis and recommendations based on then current conditions. Alternative 2, direct staff to implement a more aggressive fee increase. Alternative 3, direct staff to implement a less aggressive fee adjustment. Or Alternative 4, another direction at the board's discretion. Our recommendation staff recommends that the board direct the district manager to implement the changes to golf fees as proposed and report back to the board in early 2023 with similar analysis for consideration in next year's budget process. And with that, I will make myself available to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, questions? Ed?
I do. I think I know the answer to this, Brian. I just want to make sure. So we're on the prime rates before 10 a.m. on weekends and holidays.
Yes.
Those are essentially increases from what used to be the 18-hole rate, correct?
Well, in addition, it's actually, that would be, it's an increase from that.
Well, so in other words, the 18-hole rate was 50, so if I'm wrong, correct me. I just want to make sure I understand. If I'm understanding it, the 18-hole rate for walking was 50 and for riding was 67, and then, so the prime rate is going up from those numbers. Am I correct on that?
Right. The 18-hole rate would be going up to 53. The prime rate would be a new rate at 58 for anything before 10 o'clock.
Whereas before they were paying the 50.
50.
Okay.
So yeah, so the golfer who is used to having a 7 a.m. tee time on Saturday and walks will be going from 50 to 58.
And I obviously understand of it. I think we all knew that the COVID levels weren't going to be maintained in terms of the amount of golfers, but even compared to pre-COVID levels, we are still up, and the demand for golf is still strong.
It is, yeah. It's still a little stronger than normal, about 10% by our measure.
And then there are other golf courses in the area that were really aggressive about raising their rates the last couple of years, correct?
Yeah, on paper, yes, but in practice, not really. Notably, Los Robles and Tierra Hada, which are managed by Arcus Golf, they follow a little different model than we do. Where we have just a posted rate we charge, they have a membership-based rate. So, for example, Los Robles' regular rack rate on weekdays is $66. Seniors are $52. If you buy their membership, you pay $40. So their whole rate structure is geared around encouraging golfers to buy the $89 per month gym membership, and then they get the lower fee. And they don't discriminate between regulars or seniors the way we do. So they want you to buy the membership, and then you get the preferred rate. So it's a little bit different build, and it has differing impact. For the occasional golfer that only plays once or twice a month, they may not find that beneficial in their favor. The regular golfer who plays a lot will see that. So on paper, their posted rates are considerably higher than ours, but in practice, not that many people actually pay those.
All right, those are my questions.
Who's next? Do you have a question?
No, I want to thank you for all the research and data that you provided. I think it substantiates what's really happening in the real world out there. And I think we still are not sure how it's all going to play out with the new golfers, people going back to work and inflation and a lot of factors out there. But I just wanted to thank you. And I look at the second page, where you have the cost at Simi Hills, Encino, Balboa, Rustic Canyon, Knollwood, Westlake. I mean, I can see that we're actually about mid-range, or, you know, even with the increase, we'd probably be competitive.
We are, yeah, higher end of middle. We've always tried to match Los Robles, really, as kind of our rack rates, and then come in below Tierrada and Rustic. That's been our segment that we're trying to stay in.
Chair, if I could, just a reminder on to request any public comment we might have.
Yeah, I will get to public comment as soon as we're done with board questions.
I have a question about maintenance. There's always ongoing maintenance, so anything I bring up is just a part of ongoing maintenance. And there's dream projects and necessary maintenance. Along the front end on Alamo, there's a part of the fences that looks like it could be improved. I'm not asking about the fence specifically, but if we raised rates more aggressively, obviously supply and demand, we might get less golfers. But does that money also go to maintenance, or is it mostly like go to operations of other parts of the park district?
In general, all the golf revenue stays in the golf fund, and revenue and expenses and capital improvements all come out of Fund 80. Occasionally, the district has done transfers from Fund 80 to the general fund to fund various projects. Hasn't been any of those in the last couple of years, but over the last 10 years, there's been quite a few of those. But in general, all the revenues generated within the enterprise fund stay there and build up as a fund balance. And once that builds up, then we do capital projects and repairs and those sorts of bigger projects.
My next question for you is, I see on the second page for Sinaloa, there's a youth discount.
Yes.
But I'm seeing that it says junior discount 50% right there. But I don't see that on the first page. Am I just missing that? Or Simi Hills?
We actually do that at both courses. There's a junior discount 17 and under, and then the young adult discount, which is 18 to 25. We do that at both courses.
And it's the same rate?
That's 25% off for young adults, and then it's 50% off for juniors 17 and under.
And we have an active duty military discount.
10%.
With not that many military bases in the area. I know there's a few. I'm guessing active duty military, some recruiters, and some people coming through on business or visiting. Do we use that discount a lot?
Yeah, we don't get a whole lot. We get a few. We do get a few. I mean, and I consider active reservists and staff at the counters at both golf courses have examples of which ID card means what. So we do extend that to active duty and reserves in an active status.
I asked not with the intention of eliminating it, but if we want to make it higher, would it cost us a lot or a little? It sounds like a little since there's not that many.
You mean if we increased that
Yeah,
discount level?
the discount's 10%. If it was higher than that, obviously it costs us some revenue.
Yeah, it wouldn't be very significant. We don't have too many people who take advantage of that, but.
Okay. And then occasionally I see fundraisers and different sports teams do like a football fundraiser, and it's a golf tournament. Mm-hmm. And I see them in a variety of places. Why do they sometimes choose the private golf courses more? Like, is there anything we could do to attract them when they do that?
They're, in general, most country clubs, not all, most are closed on Monday for maintenance. So that's an open day for them revenue-wise. They don't make any money on those days, so they actively court the bigger events to try to get them to generate revenue on their off days. So that's one aspect. They typically offer pretty competitive pricing on those days because they're used to making zero, and so if they can make a few bucks on a closed day, then they're doing pretty well. Generally, they can underbid us. But the other problem we have is the level of utilization at CME. So if we make $15,000 on a Friday, we still need to kind of generate that same sort of revenue from a tournament if they book the course for the day. And that is, largely, a little higher price than the country clubs would offer. And also, we don't have an inside banquet room. Most of the charity tournaments, the football, and, although Police Foundation is coming back to see me, they've been at Moore Park for the last several years. And we have the patio, which is great, but it's not indoors. And so if it's a Santa Ana day or if it's raining and cold, that is a little bit of a trade-off that a lot of bigger groups don't want to make. So
That's all my questions.
Okay. Josh, any questions?
I am all good, thank you.
Okay. I didn't really have any. I just was wondering, if, how can I put this? We're not so crowded on the golf courses that people have to wait or anything like that, are we?
Oh yeah, it's still full.
Yeah?
Oh yeah,
Oh.
we all, especially the prime times, everything
Yeah.
from say noon and earlier, they book out, they sell out as soon as we open up the tee sheet for the next week. It books almost immediately.
Oh, wow, okay.
That's my number one complaint still every day is, how do I get tee times? How it's, and there's a couple things that are impacting that. Without getting too far down in the weeds, our golf carts are sort of at the end of their lease. We have a fleet on order. It's been pushed back. Right now, they're anticipating a July delivery, but generally speaking, golf carts are warranted for about 20,000 hours. Ours are at 30,000 and climbing rapidly because of all the extra use. So they're starting to break down more frequently, and so we're still at 10-minute tee times because we can't really get enough carts out to sufficient to satisfy that demand. So if we were to go back to 8-minute interval like we were before COVID, we would be doing more rounds. We would have more availability of tee times, but we just can't get there right now.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that's an option that may present itself in the future.
Okay.
So that's one, but that is still our main complaint is that it's hard to get a tee time, at least the prime times. The afternoon times aren't booking as heavily as they used to be.
Yeah.
And so that's softening up a little bit. But the mornings, and the mornings were full before COVID.
Yeah.
Everything up till 12 or 1 o'clock was always booked before, for the last, 20 years.
Great, thank you.
When were those, I missed that part about the delay in the carts. When's the next anticipation?
July.
Yamaha quoted us June, July. I talked to the rep yesterday. He said, probably more like July, which probably means August. But they're a little behind on deliveries.
Does that mean we get a discount at all of them?
No, they're actually in the same place that we are. Club Car and Easy Go are booked all the way into 2023 at this point. So, they're not discounting anything. We want them, if we wanted to give it up, they'd be able to sell them 100 times over. So
Brian, if I could though, we're not paying the new lease rates until we get the carts.
Right, yeah.
So we're not paying on the current contract until we get the
And our
carts.
current contract goes through October anyway. So they're actually, if they are able to deliver in July, they're going to be, taking the old fleet back, or the current fleet back about 3 months prior to the end of the lease, and they just wash that for us, which is good for us. And the sooner we can get out of this fleet, the better.
Great, okay. All right, I'll open up to public comment. Are there any members of the public who would like to comment on this issue? I'm hearing nothing. Okay. It's time to entertain a motion.
I actually have a comment. I had questions for them.
Okay.
So I have a number of points I want to make. I'm going to start off. I do think, and I said this repeatedly, and I pounded the table on it, I think for the past 5 years we have not been aggressive enough in raising our rates. And because of that, I feel like the district has missed out on a lot of revenue, and that bothers me. Now, with that in mind, we had a golf committee meeting. I read through the things here. I do think this is a well-done report. I'm particularly impressed by the idea of the prime rate on weekends and holidays. I think that's an excellent idea and is well thought out. So I at least like the direction that we're going. I still remain concerned that we're not taking advantage. Golf is still booming, the demand is still there, and, again, if it were me, I would push the envelope even more. I certainly would have been doing that the past 5 years. However, having said that, I do think, Brian, this is an excellent report and an excellent explanation, and I definitely like and am impressed by the idea of the prime rates for before 10 a.m. on weekends and holidays. So I can live with this, but it's just in my blood. If it were me, I'd still be even more aggressive. But having said that, I am impressed with the report and the recommendation.
Okay. Would someone like to make a motion?
I'll move approval of the alternative one, please.
I'll second. Okay, roll call.
Director Avila,
Aye.
Director Denner,
Yes.
and Director Freeman,
Yes.
Vice Chair Gray,
Aye.
Chair O'Brien,
Yes.
and that motion carries with a unanimous vote.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 10, written communications of note. Anyone have any written communications?
Staff has no written communications of note.
Anyone else? Any board members?
I just, I mentioned earlier that change.org petition. They said they're going to present to the city, but they were concerned about parks. So anticipating some future board meeting they might come. I didn't talk to them about the contents of their petition because I figured it'd be best if we all heard it. But
Okay.
it was
Now,
about.
tell me again what this is.
It said chemicals in parks. And
Oh, weed abatement.
that's
yes,
a wide category because there's FEMA toxins or there's, I'm good with the policy that we have for rodents, for field safety, but then they also had weed control. So it's kind of broad, and we might need to do a item on the agenda if they do decide to come on. This is what we currently do, not what we some people think we do, but what we do and why we do it.
Yeah.
And then maybe they could then formulate better what they're asking for.
Okay.
But that's it for me.
All right. I got a very nice letter from Julia Brownlee's office thanking us for the thank you letter for getting us the COVID funds. It's really nice that she says thank you, we'll keep working to help you guys out. And I should give it to you to file, I suppose, shouldn't I?
Sure, thank you.
Okay, I will do that. Item 11, reports by board members. Josh.
Yeah, I got a fairly short one, but I did get a message early last month about, I passed on to Dan and just wanted to follow up. Verde Park, the playground there, had some screws loose near the top, and I wanted to check with Dan or Wayne. I never heard back on if or how quickly that was addressed.
Yeah, I apologize for that, Director Graham, but I believe it was fixed the day after or 2 days, but it has been corrected. I don't remember exactly how quickly, but it was a fairly rapid response.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I just wanted to double check and do my due diligence. Other than that, haven't done much more than walk through a couple parks, walked by some of the baseball fields between the two chapos by Township, and seen a lot of baseball activity and a lot of families. Yeah, and that's been great. The park has been well used. And yeah. Excited for the Simi Street Fair on the 30th of this month. But that is all I've got.
Have you guys set a date yet for your wedding?
We have not yet.
Okay, just curious.
My fiance and I are taking care of my grandpa, so
Okay.
we've been delayed in having some free time to tackle that. But
Okay.
hopefully soon.
Okay, just curious. Elaine.
Okay, I had two California Special Districts legislative committees, one on March 4 and one on April 1. I sent out a brief legislative report today. You probably haven't had a chance to get in your email yet. The legislative agenda was over 300 pages. That's how many bills we went through. Some of those that I sent out are just highlighted of some of the things that are going on in Sacramento. CSDA Ledge Days is coming up in May 17th and 18th. Sorry, Kate won't make it, but it's worth the, it's going to be a little different this year, where we can't get into the Capitol to visit the legislators. The legislators are being invited to come to lunch and meet with us, so we'll see how that works out. Since our meeting, we also had a Strather meeting, went over everything, all the items, maintenance items, and this last weekend they had the Civil War Days, and I understand it went very, very well. We had the City Council meeting for the Greenway, and I thought that went well. Had a golf committee meeting, and that covered most everything that's in your staff report. And then we had Oak Park, and I thought that was a very good meeting covering a lot of items. Brian is now on the committee, and we had an interesting conversation, and I have to compliment Brian because they were asking about adding a board member, and Brian asked if they added a board member, would they give up their committee meetings? And the answer was no. So, but anyway, we covered a wealth of information, and they're obviously very involved. And today was the state of the city, and unfortunately I had to leave before Kate got on at 2 o'clock, or about 2. And that,
It was around 2, yeah.
so it's been a busy month with the 2 ledge meetings and Strather and City Council and Golf Committee and Oak Park and the State of the City.
Okay, thank you. Ed?
Okay, you're right, it has been a busy month. Elaine mentioned the golf committee meeting. It actually, our last meeting goes back so far. We had a number of us. I don't even remember. I know Kate was there. Elaine was there. I don't know if any of the other board members, but we had the Chamber Salute to Excellence. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. So I mentioned golf committee meeting, Chamber Salute to Excellence awards. My wife and I believe Elaine and Jack were there too, attended For the Troops. There was the awards at the Elks Lodge, where I appreciate the staff allowing me to introduce Courtney, who was so deserving. That whole event was actually, it's the first time I've ever attended that at the Elks Lodge, and it was excellent. And then, again, Elaine mentioned the City Council meeting. Attended that. Not really having to do with the park board, but Jill and I had another trip to the Reagan Library to see Amy Coney Barrett on Monday evening, so that was interesting. And then we had the State of the City today, and Kate, you did an excellent job. I wondered if we'd ever hear from you, but we got there, and you were excellent. So right, it has been a busy month.
I must apologize. We had Ventura County Special Districts Association last night.
Yes, we did. That's right.
And Jackie Irwin was the speaker, and she did a really good job.
Yeah. Okay, Brian.
I took some students with us to see a Supreme Court Justice speak, and it was a fun night. They had a good time. They had a lot of thoughts and opinions and discussions before and after. It was fun. So we haven't, because it's been a little bit longer since our last meeting. It's kind of long. I apologize. Rural High School had an arroyo cleanup, and they used the trash grabbers, and we picked up a lot of trash. So thank you, Wayne, for getting those trash grabbers for the community to do cleanups. I joined in, and we had a lot of fun. That's where I found, a student found the raccoon school. We'll talk about that later. But Santa Sue also did a cleanup, and the reason I mention that is Nikki Collier is doing a really good job organizing volunteers. we have hundreds of volunteers doing activities and cleaning things up. So I'm really proud of the work that Nikki's doing. Went on a hike with the Park District a couple weeks ago at Long Canyon. Enjoyed hiking with you. We're gonna hike tomorrow night.
Yeah.
And something that getting better as a person making conversation is not always asking people about what they do for money or a job, but what do they do for fun? And when you're hanging out at the Park District and you can't, a board member like you and I, and we can't talk about all this stuff,
Yeah, that's right.
then we get to know each other, because you gotta ask other questions. So I enjoy that. If anybody wants to come hike with us tomorrow at Los Yahas, it's a fun hike. The Santa Monica Mountain Conservancy, recently, one item I'm just gonna share, not the whole meeting, but the Wildlife Bridge, the kickoff, and the grand opening ceremony is coming up. They've been promoting that. The reason the Wildlife Bridge is important is it's important for animal and human health. Like a healthy population of animals is a healthy population for people too. Like predators keeping down rat, rabbit, and deer population is healthy. So looking forward to that kickoff. I was on the ranch, and I want to thank Sandy. I was getting from school to the ranch, and I made it in time, but it was close, and Sandy let them know I was on my way, so they wouldn't worry. I appreciate that partnership. At the Oak Park meeting, I'm sure Dan has comments, so I'm not going to discuss that much, and I know it's going to come up in another one, but just a basic summary. When the policy of drones came up, they definitely had feelings and opinions on that to share, and so we have some work to do when the drone policy comes back to us to incorporate that. But to get the notes from that meeting, for any board members, if you talk to Dan, he could give you a summary of the committee and what they thought. I went on after-school club tours. I want to thank you for organizing that, Zach. Our staff, including Danielle, Richard, Zach, yourself, and your whole team did a really good job. I read books from Alan Salazar, and I brought with me local plants and animal bones and let the students guess at it. And they had all sorts of guesses on the bones in my bag. But when I read parts of the story, and I kept it short, the students had a fun time. If you ever want to borrow books to do that yourself, my suggestion is make sure you hold up the pictures. That's the most important part. If you forget that part, a little kid will call you out on that. So hold up the pictures. Our after-school clubs are doing a good job. I appreciate that. I stopped by the youth council meeting that was yesterday. On our agenda in the upcoming meeting will be our partnership with the youth council. I just introduced myself and spoke at the beginning, but before our staff presented and listened to their ideas, I got home, I had some other things to do, but more importantly, I know our staff does a good job. So I wasn't there to guide the whole meeting, but just to say hi and why I put it on their agenda. And I look forward to the work we could do with the youth council. I spoke with Representative Julia Brownlee. There's an upcoming election. She might be our next representative for our area, or more of St. Valley, because she represented part of St. Valley before. And we spoke about a variety of issues, but I expressed how people in St. Valley really like open space in Oak Park in this area, and how popular open space is. And we briefly spoke about Rim of the Valley and the legislation for a national park. Last couple items. Cesar Chavez Day is also a day of service, and I know we celebrate Martin Luther King with the day of service, and we don't need to discuss it at tonight's meeting, and I'm not saying at the same scale or level, but that's just something to put on our agenda, or our thoughts of how do we celebrate Cesar Chavez and day of service. There are so many people lining up to do volunteer work in the district. That's another opportunity to do that. I know there's limitations on staff time and what day it might fall on, so I'm not directing or asking staff a specific plan, but it comes up in March, so we got a long time to discuss that. I spoke to Kareem Jabron, and I've spoken to Scott Blau previously about it, but inclusive playgrounds, so a playground that's open and usable by all. There's another one that opened in Ventura and was really popular. I remember this because Josh, you brought up earlier maintenance issues. The difficulty of an inclusive playground is we already have playgrounds, but the reason I bring it up tonight is to put out our plan maybe is playgrounds get completely replaced. So whether we build a brand new playground or just is they end their life cycle and we have to swap out a playground, that's one thing to consider. They had mentioned some possible ideas of partnering with the school district, but Dan, I'll talk to you later about that. Lastly, for the board members and the staff that presented at the city council meeting, good job. I appreciate the conversation about the Arroyo and the brief conversation about could we extend it to Corriganville or should it extend to Moore Park, and a lot of people looked around like, could we do both? I know we can't do everything, but the Arroyo's transportation and recreation. So look forward to that partnership too. And for those that presented and the staff that put it together, you did a good job. That's it for me.
Okay, thank you. Well, I had Ventura County Special Districts with Director Freeman, and yes, it was great. Jackie Irwin is a good speaker, and she was very informative, so that was excellent. The City Council meeting, discussion of the Arroyo, yes, nice job. Staff, thank you. Chamber dinner, that seems like so long ago, it was only a month, but yeah, that went well. That was, I missed doing that with COVID, so that was good. We're back to it. I also went to a meet and greet for Eric Nasarenko, who was our sitting district attorney, who's running for re-election, so I found him informative. I don't know who else is even running. Well, there's one other guy, but I don't know anything about him. So.
John Barrett.
That's the guy. Okay, thank you. But I found the meet and greet was interesting, and I asked him about early release and who are you releasing early, serial killers or people who fought the Woolsey fire, or so there's somewhere in between. It's not serial killers. State of the City today, it went on long, but you know, it was okay. As part of goofing off for my birthday, we went up to the City of Ventura Botanical Gardens, which are beautiful this time of year. It's right above City Hall up there in Ventura. Neither of us knew that they were there, but we went, and it's several terrace layers of vegetation, a lot of it from South America, Chile, and which is that central Chile is very similar terrain-wise and climate-wise to Ventura, this area of Ventura County. So a lot of the vegetation thrives here, and it was enjoyable.
Is that up on the north, just north of the city, up on the hill?
Yeah, up on the hill. Yeah, you go north, you go to the City Hall, and then go behind it. It's right there. It's really kind of cool. And I guess that's it. That's all I had. Oh, thank you for the birthday card and the cupcake. Great.
Oh, right, yes, thank you staff for the birthday card I got in the mail and for the delicious looking cupcake I have right in front of me. Thank you for, I meant to mention that, thank you.
Okay. All right, item 12, report by district manager.
Thank you. Happy birthday from the staff. Glad you guys are celebrating that. Skate park is doing good. BMX track, we've had several discussions with the city since the board's direction to us to look at our options moving forward. We have also, Mr. Miller and I have met with the BMX committee on a couple occasions. That conversation is going well. We do plan to bring that back to the meeting, to the board, the June 1st meeting. So the first meeting in June. I will note that we did hear today that the HOA in the area of the Equestrian facility got word about the discussion about BMX, and haven't heard from them too much other than to say they are concerned. So I will probably have to reach out to them and let them know what's occurring, and probably need to invite them to the June 1st meeting when we talk about the option of the Equestrian Center. Your staff is busy putting together next year's proposed budget for board review. We did have the Oak Park meeting. Normally I'll provide a full report at that when we have the board meeting in Oak Park, which is scheduled for May 4th. Their regular meeting was supposed to be the second Thursday in April, and they canceled that and they moved their meeting forward to March. So it gave us a little time before we have our meeting out in Oak Park following their meeting. So I will provide a full report on the Oak Park meeting as a part of their your May 4th meeting, which is the Oak Park meeting. That being said, drones are scheduled to come back on your agenda on April 20th, and we'll have a full discussion in the staff report of the Oak Park recommendation related to drones on April 20th.
I do see tonight that Danny Sue and Harry Medved have been on, paying attention.
I did also meet, the board will recall, the equestrian folks. Wayne and I met with them out at the Equestrian Center, and they're also very interested in reactivating the use at the equestrian site. So that was a positive meeting. They basically toned, their events were scaled back quite a bit during COVID, but they're interested in reactivating their use of our equestrian site. 4th of July, the Chamber of Commerce is having tough time right now securing a pyrotechnician or a pyro to shoot off the fireworks, so nothing to worry about right now other than that we're trying to find someone to do the fireworks. My understanding is the supply is thin, and employees, there's some new certification required of pyrotechnician employees, and they're having a tough time with finding enough people to shoot off the fireworks. So hopefully that comes together. I'll keep the board informed on that. Our monthly financial report from last month is all good. We're on track. The lagoon, bids were open for the lagoon, and it came in substantially higher than what our cost estimate was. We do have a call tomorrow with our insurer to discuss the bids. Wayne and I have discussed it. We're evaluating what to do in light of the significant bids we got on the lagoon. More to come on that. We have a tri-agency meeting, which is the smaller one. The chair and vice chair, Kate and Josh, will represent us at that on April 25th at 10 a.m., I believe. Brian McQueen has given his resignation. I think he's been with us for 32 years, something of the sort. So he's lifting and moving out to Las Vegas, as we understand it. We are actively recruiting for his replacement. We started that, I believe, 2 weeks ago. So, but we are having an event here at the district office for him. We should get this Friday.
At San Jose Park, the lunchtime event.
Okay, this Friday or next Friday?
This Friday.
Okay, so I guess that's your notice. If you'd like to come say goodbye to Brian, we'll be at San Jose
If
Park
someone
on
on
Friday.
staff remembers, can you text me Friday morning?
Yeah, we'll send that. Let's send that out in an email to the board, please. Yeah. What else do I have here? I'll be presenting to Sunrise Rotary tomorrow morning. They asked me to give an overview of the district. They're particularly interested in the Arroyo and if there's any volunteer projects that they can do as a part of the Arroyo Greenway project. Upcoming events, April 16th, we have the Egg Scramble, both in Simi and Oak Park. We have an Earth Day event on April 22nd at Burlwood Park. We have Junk in the Trunk on April 23rd. As Director Gray mentioned, we will be participating in the street fair on April 30th. Upcoming board meetings, we have a board meeting on April 20th. The principal item on that evening would be revisiting the drone issue. We're going to have a discussion about permanent use of Zoom permanently for the public at that meeting. We've got a youth council presentation scheduled for that evening. We've got Earth Day awards scheduled for that evening, recognition of Ranger Kanagi for getting the Elks Award, a recognition of the Santa Sue Baseball League for 60 years, and also CSDA is going to present us with an important transparency award that we received this year on the 20th. Your next meeting is scheduled in Oak Park, May 4th, and it'll be Oak Park meeting follow-up principally on that meeting. I did want to remind the board that we moved the second meeting in May to the second Wednesday because it conflicted with the CRPD conference and so that'll be Wednesday, May 11th, and that is scheduled to be your budget workshop that we hold each year with the board. And that we have no upcoming committee meetings scheduled, and like I mentioned, the Oak Park committee meeting was moved to earlier in the calendar. That concludes my report.
Okay, can I make one more comment?
Yes, go ahead.
And there's nothing imminent or anything like that about this, but I did want to mention, since I did have a discussion and I did briefly speak with Dan about it, I was approached by several of the veterans from the VFW Museum, and they have concern that down the road, maybe even sooner than later, that they may lose their space there. And one of the things they were inquiring about was if there was any possibility of somewhere in the Park District. A couple of the things that were mentioned were the Equestrian Center, which I think Dan and I realized immediately was not going to be workable. One of the other things that was suggested was maybe Strathern, which I found interesting because it's something that if there was a way it could be done that might boost interest in both Strathern and the VFW Museum. So again, none of this is imminent. It's all just in the talking stages, but I had the discussion. I briefly had the discussion with Dan, and I certainly found that second alternative that at least somewhat interesting. I I don't know how workable, but at least something to keep in mind. So I just wanted to mention that.
All right, good. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Can I say one more thing?
Yeah.
Today was Pat Haven's 92nd birthday, and I thought it would, I'm sorry, Pat Haven's 92nd birthday was today, and I don't know if we could send her a belated birthday card or something.
Yes, we can do that.
Good. Okay, item 13, we have a closed session.
I'll ask Mr. Hamlin to announce our closed session item, please.
Oh. Yes, indeed.
Closed session pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.95. The claimant is Stephen Paul, and the agency claimed against is the Rancho Simi Recreation and Park District.
Okay, thank you.
So those non-closed session folks can step out if you would, please.
Okay, we are now out of closed session, and Ryan Hamlin will report our action.
The board has decided to reject the claim.
All right, if there's nothing else, I'm going to adjourn the meeting. Meeting adjourned.